All right, guys. So this is called The Truth About Why They Don't Teach Money in School by Heresy Financial. I don't really care for this guy. His videos are just easy. There's tons of other, things you can watch or books you can read or whatever to find out about this. But his is just easy to just go over real quick.
Have you ever wondered why we have the public school system that we have today? Because it wasn't always like this. In fact, for most of human history, schools didn't even exist. For most of human history, you were a kid, you just grew up learning to do whatever your parents did, learning how to survive, and then that's what you did for the rest of your life until you taught your kids how to do the same thing. Sir?
Yeah, well, no. Learning how to survive. He makes it seem like before all these organizations were around, we were just living in the woods and surviving. No.
In some certain periods of time, in certain places, there were school systems like in ancient Greece, but these were the anomaly, not the norm, historically speaking. But by the year 1900, there were public school systems everywhere. Compulsory, government-mandated public schooling systems where kids went and learned things that...
Mandatory. They made it mandatory to go to their indoctrination centers.
Seemed arbitrary, maybe unrelated to things.
In order to be a citizen of that country, they make it mandatory that you go into the indoctrination center.
Would end up doing for the rest of their lives with kids who are their same age, growing up learning things with these kids together their entire lives. For what purpose? By many measures, this public school system today is failing. Very few people are satisfied with the way our public school...
I would like to know anybody who's satisfied. Anybody who's satisfied with any kind of school system is completely 100% slave-minded and out of their mind.
Schooling system works, but there is intentional design behind the schooling system we have today.
Oh, you think? You fucking think?
It's not the way it is because it happened to be so. It was set up that way on purpose. The things that kids learn, and more importantly, the things they don't learn, like investing, money, taxes, finance, and even more importantly, the way they learn things, were all established intentionally with a very specific purpose in mind.
Guys, the schools were established in the 1900s. They have generationally fucked us. They have generationally enslaved the living hell out of us. You know why? Because think about it. These people started the indoctrination in 1900. So your great-great-great-great-grandparents the indoctrination started then, and it's just gotten worse every fucking generation. And what they did was they made it that way slaves, eventually, generation after generation, which is where we're at now, slaves, breeding slaves, breeding slaves, breeding slaves. And they don't have to keep an eye on, they don't have to make sure you're doing it because they already know 99% of people are not thinking outside the box. 99% of people are going to fall right in fucking line and teach their kids to fucking be wage slaves and consumerists.
It goes back to the origin of the modern schooling system in Prussia called the Prussian model. In the year 1717, King Frederick William I of Prussia set up the very first compulsory schooling system. Now, this schooling system had one very intentional reason behind it in Prussia, and that was to turn out extremely patriotic, loyal, obedient soldiers. And the schooling...
Did you see that? Did you guys see that? The purpose this school served was to create patriotic, loyal... There's one more.
Loyal, obedient soldiers.
Obedient soldiers. And that is exactly... So, I don't know if he goes into it in this video. We're not going to do much more of this video. But the American public school system was set up in the 1900s by Rockefeller. Rockefeller took his model from this Prussia that he's talking about and said, oh, this is the best model. This is how we can get everybody to fall in line. And that's exactly what they did. On purpose, guys. This is on purpose. You have been made slaves on purpose. If that is not called a conspiracy, if this is not a cabal, then I don't know what is. I mean, you guys are fucking ignorant.
And the schooling system was 100% designed around that. They developed standardized testing. They valued respect for authority over intelligently trying to problem solve and think your way through your own problems. They conditioned kids for boredom and monotony, made them sit in classrooms facing one direction for long periods of time with very little breaks, had bells to signal when it was time that you were allowed to move from one place to another, dark, boring hallways, prison-like buildings, standing in line, the inability to play outside of very specific hours, even PE, physical education, all designed to churn out like a factory a loyal, patriotic citizenry that was
obedient
primed for war.
He forgot obedient.
The schooling system was filled with propaganda about
patriotic, loyal, and obedient. That's all they want. They want you loyal, obedient, and patriotic. Why? So that way they can, whatever they shove, whatever the next thing is they want to shove on you, you will just accept blindly.
The country, the state being more valuable than the family, so that when they called on you to go to war and leave your family behind, you would think it was good.
Did you hear that? They did it because they wanted you to worship the state over your family. And that is exactly where we are at today. Why should we even worship? Most of us, our families are just abusive assholes anyways. So they have completely ruined the family unit, guys.
Everything was about uniformity, the uniformity in the grading system.
Uniformity. Everybody has to fall in line and think the same way, do the same thing, want the same thing. See?
You're just one student that sits in a desk that stands in line. Even school uniforms themselves, all designed to prep these Prussian kids for military service. Now, around 1840, there was an American that was able to witness this public schooling system. His name was Horace Mann. Horace Mann today is called the father of the American schooling. After witnessing the Prussian model of schooling, he came back to America and started spreading the message far and wide. He got a bunch of very influential people on his side, including people like John D. Rockefeller, convincing them that this is what the United States needed. And obviously, they were successful.
He didn't have to convince them. Rockefeller was all for it. Why was Rockefeller all for it? Because it's about money and control.
States all across the Union started instituting compulsory schooling systems for the first time in our nation's history. Up until that point, any school system that did exist was private and ran off of charity donations. It swept the nation, and over the course of the next few decades, it became very commonplace, and by the year 1900, virtually every state across America had compulsory schooling run by the state. The General Education Board was established in...
All right, I'm going to stop it there. If you guys want more, go watch, read the comments. Like I said, you can find like some really in-depth documentaries. But guys, look, I'm not sending you all down rabbit holes. I'm not trying to give you all kinds of information. What I am doing with all these videos is pointing out that how rotten, how these things were founded, all these things that you guys think are great, all these fucking authority figures, it was all founded, every single bit of it, on commerce, industry, and greed, ego, and authority. That's it. But this is called The Truth About Why They Don't Teach Money in School. Heresy Financial, guys.